All right, some more news for you. New numbers this week showed inflation dropping to 3.1%. The Fed is meeting today at 2 o'clock to talk about interest rates. We know that the economy and spending is the biggest concerns with people around the country right now as we take a live look at the markets, up just about 7 points here today. As we head into 2024, we're taking a look at where things stand now and what this really means for our economy. So joining me now, Kevin Cotter. He is the chair of the Department of Economics at Wayne State University. Professor Cotter, thanks so much for joining me.
Happy to be here.
All righty. Before we talk about what the Fed may or may not do today, let's go ahead and take a step back, and I would love to hear your perspective as we've traveled along the inflation trail here on 23, and we are way down from that high in June of 22 of 9.1%. How would you characterize what this journey has been? Has the Fed done what it's supposed to do?
Well, the Fed was a little slow in getting started raising interest rates because when we started seeing inflation maybe 2 years ago, the thinking was, oh, this is COVID related. There are shortages because of supply bottlenecks. But then when these price increases continued, there was some real concern that if inflation got too bad, then the only way to get to cool it off would be a recession. And so there have been a lot of concern about, are we going to get a recession? We're going to get inflation down. And it turns out the Fed's been very successful that, yeah, there's been some pain caused by higher interest rates, but the economy is still doing very well. Inflation has come way down, and the economy is still doing very well. So this looks, I mean, I know it's early to declare victory, but things sure look pretty good right now.
So tell me, Professor, from your perspective and what we're seeing in the numbers, what is still driving inflation right now?
Well, a big one is housing costs. During the pandemic, there were supply bottlenecks in building new housing, and that's been still an issue. But then one thing that seems a little weird, but makes sense when you think about it, is one reason why housing prices are still going up is because of higher mortgage rates, because people already living in houses with 3% mortgages don't want to sell. That's making fewer houses available for new buyers, and prices are still going up. Of course, mortgage payments are going up because of higher interest rates, and that's been pushing up apartment rents as well. So housing costs are a big driver of inflation right now.
When we are expecting the announcement from the Fed this afternoon, and all of the analysts are pointing to the Fed just holding and not doing anything, could we possibly see in the next 6 months that interest rates could come down for the first time in a long time?
Well, the consensus, which I agree with, is that some cuts are fairly likely. And the Fed doesn't want to declare victory too soon because they have to show the world that they are serious about fighting inflation, because the one thing that could bring inflation back is if people are expecting inflation. So the Fed has to be very clear that they're taking this seriously, but eventually they're going to cut rates. They might wait to see if the economy begins to soften, maybe if economic activity slows down or hiring slows down. That hasn't happened yet, but we'll probably see some fairly modest cuts next year. Maybe a percentage point seems to be the consensus right now. Of course, we could get some unexpected events happening. So there are lots of possibilities.
When we look at the job market, it has remained strong. And that is one of the things that I think that, and maybe you can, give us your perspective on that has analysts saying, well, we expected it to really cool off, but it has really continued to do well for people.
Well, it certainly has. Well, of course, part of it is that you've had some people leave the labor force, so that's left more job openings out there. But but hiring has still been have been very strong because people still want to spend. I think part of it is that some people still have money left over from a lot of people either weren't spending money during COVID or they got extra money from the government that they haven't spent yet, and maybe some of it is just we're seeing gains from the stock market again. So all these things are driving spending. And then, of course, if people are confident about having a job because of a strong job market, they're going to spend as well. So a strong job market reinforces itself.
Yeah, as we're taking a look at the market right now, you're talking about if people have done well in the market. It's just up about 2 points right now on this Wednesday afternoon. My last question for you, Professor Cotter, would be, though, when I think about a lot of the personal spending, we are seeing reports now that more people are drawing out of their 401ks. They don't have the amount of savings that they used to. Is that some kind of concern when you talk about overall spending, that somewhere along the line something is going to burst?
Well, certainly if people are spending down their savings, or worse yet, if they're borrowing, then that could spell trouble later on. Yeah, I mean, certainly whether that could lead to some kind of a bubble in the housing market. Say if people are stretching too far in buying houses, that could be a real issue. I mean, hopefully it would not be a repeat of what happened, say 2007, 2008. As far as a sudden downturn, I certainly hope that doesn't happen, but obviously going toward more borrowing, spending down savings, obviously is a concern.
Yeah, and we'll be watching the Fed's announcement this afternoon at 2 o'clock. Professor Kevin Cotter, the chair of the Department of Economics at Wayne State University, thanks so much for joining me and giving us a little perspective here as we head into the end of the year. Appreciate it.
Are you very welcome, and happy holidays.
Thank you so much, and to you too.